Welcome to musicmoveit.com, and today we are going to talk about how to handle yourself when doing interviews. Now, of course, in order to promote an album, doing interviews with the press helps tremendously. And there's a certain way you should conduct yourself, and a certain way you should speak, and a certain way you should just present yourself as an artist because it's very important. Now, of course, rule number one is if you're doing, there's different kinds of interviews, basically. If you're doing something where you're going to be on camera with a reporter or someone on the news or something of that nature, or a TV show, of course, always be on time. Be early if possible. Make everyone's job easier. Of course, you'll be looked at more professional when you're on time and not late. And if you're doing something, I've done interviews in the past where it was for a newspaper and they just did a little tape recorder and did our interview like that. Or sometimes they did them by phone for newspapers. So, it just depends on what it is. But for live interviews or something that's going to be on TV, make sure you're on time. Now, there's a certain way, there's certain words you want to avoid. There's certain, not even words, they're just little things that people do. One of the biggest things people do when they're not really trained for interviews is they use the word a lot. So when you're asked a question, don't start off with Don't say well, blah blah blah. Try to get out of the habit of saying It's hard to do if you say it a lot, and it's a habit for some people. So try to concentrate. If you can't even go practice with somebody, like a friend or your manager or whomever is close to you, or even a family member, and have them practice asking you questions and try to answer without saying well, instead of that, just be like, well, blah 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 blah, and don't say don't say don't try not to stutter. These are just basic simple rules. Now, of course, always look into the eyes of the person interviewing you. Or if it's a camera, always look into the camera. Whomever is talking to you, always have great eye contact, because that is extremely important. Because think about it like this. If you are able to speak well and have an intelligent conversation via an interview, then people look at you very intelligently. They'll be like, even if he does, he's in a death metal band, but his interviews are awesome. He's very great at having a good conversation and things like that. Or, he's a really hard-nosed street hip-hop artist, but his interviews, he drops knowledge. He is very well-spoken, things like that. You're going to be looked at as so much more professional if you cut out certain things like and this and that. Always have the eye contact. That's extremely important. Even if you're doing a phone interview for a newspaper, still, speak properly. Try not to use as much slang. A lot of people are always like, yeah, da-da-da, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You feel me? Cut all that shit out. You don't need to speak like that. Talk better. It's smart to be smart. You don't need to sound stupid to come off as cool, if that makes any sense. And this goes for every genre of music. So, you want to sound like your stuff. Is that a bad thing? No, it is not. So always do that. Also, always thank the person who did your interview. Whether it's that same day, or if you did something on the phone, thank them on the phone, then send them a follow-up email to thank them, or a letter even. A lot of letter stuff is old school now, but an email. Follow-up email thanking. Always thank people who are helping you along your way. Show your appreciation, because then your next album out, they'll remember you more. They'll be like, oh, there's that artist, he was such a nice guy, he thanked me later on even. And they'll be more willing to work with you compared to an artist who they did an interview for, talked like a jackass, and didn't even show any appreciation at all. And just was like, whatever. Show your appreciation, don't burn bridges. Try to speak well. Cut out the blah blah blah. And your interview will go well. Now, there's always different kinds of interviews. Some are just straight off. Sometimes the reporter will just be straight off the head interviewing you, which is fine. Some people will have questions that they just want to ask you, like a list of questions, which is great. And then once you get a little more into the bigger shows, like the more popular TV shows and things like that, a lot of times the manager, the production manager, or someone along those lines of the show will come to you or your manager and go over potential topics you want to go over, and they'll kind of set up questions that way. So they'll be like, what do you want to talk about exactly? And they'll kind of feel things out. And then the interview is basically not scripted, but you know what you're going to be talking about for the most part. And these are like big shows, like, you know, The Tonight Show and all that stuff. Even mid-level TV shows that are national or international. So anyway, so that's how you basically, basic thoughts on how you should handle the press and how you should handle interviews. You want to come off as professional. Like I always say, it's very important. You know, you could be one way in your songs and stuff like that, but when you're dealing with the public, if you want people to call you back, if you want people to be more willing to review things or give you interviews every time you release an album, treat them right, speak well, and these people will always remember you as being on point. So now, if you want more info on how to release an album from start to finish, pick up our ebook. Download it now. It's at www.yourmusicrelease.com. Get it today, please. And please also subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're trying to do more videos like every other day. And we want to keep you informed to help better yourself as an independent artist or band. And I thank you very much.